Okay. All right. There we are. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Had to go and help my wife bring up food. I said groceries. I'm at dinner. She stopped by to grab some dinner on her way home from work. So let's see here. I managed to get a video recording earlier that'll be going to YouTube, and for the most part, we're here. We're here to have some fun. Let me get my have a combination of things like that I have like set up so that I can get all the information here. Um, I don't know if I did this on the last stream or not. Um, Thank you, Fusion Titan, for the follow. Um, most of my followers are either my players or friends of mine. Um, but I hope I hope all of you non-player followers also enjoy your time here. So let's see, we got. Uh, I'm still setting up. Like I said, I had to like run downstairs to get some things going, and oh my gosh, I was trying to do a new window so that when I switch to the other window mode, um, it wouldn't automatically it wouldn't like be the one it wouldn't be sorry it wouldn't be the window that it grabs from, and I accidentally just instinctually opened incognito mode, and I'm like, oh, um, this has suddenly become a dangerous situation. Incognito mode. All right, let's see. Users in chat. Just myself. Hello, self. Welcome. All right, so we're here to hang out, read fan fiction, and chill. Tell some stories and things like that. Hi, sweetheart. Hold on. She's bringing dinner. I'm gonna just pass everything over to my son. Um, wow. Cabeza burrito. This brings me happiness. Thank you, babe. Oh, yeah, that cat is hungry for love.
He's hungry. He thought I brought him food. I'm like, excuse you, you got food.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's see. So I got that one. Have this window open. Alright, so you guys like my room? Yeah. It's so swanky, so neat, it's so organized, so far removed from reality.
Oh yeah, take a look. It's gonna come off.
Ooh, yeah, I like those glasses. Those glasses look really good on you. Yeah, yeah, it really makes your eyes pop. Wow.
You're welcome.
Are they comfortable?
Yeah.
Nice. They're pretty comfortable to look at too.
I know. I think everybody was looking at me.
I also got new glasses. Yee. Can see more of my face because they're transparent. Ooh.
My glasses. Nobody looked at my face.
Really stood out, huh?
Yep.
Alright, let's see. Where is my apps up here? So Yeah, I know we were reading some How Ryoga Met Your Mother last time, and let me see if I can I get a whole other freaking scene in here. Let's see. Okay. All right. Sceneception. Let's go. We got scenes within scenes within scenes. All right, so let's zoom in here. Oh, too much zoom. Hold on, you side panel away. Let's take a look at how up. There. How's that? Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Let's move you down, down, down. There we go. And put you there. And then I can see I can hide you. Yes, yes. This is the future. Um, this is a future where um, I can control the narrative for everyone. Oh man. Okay, hold on. I actually gotta go to this one. So, where's this one? So I hide that while we're doing this. There we go. Cool. Okay. Yeah. All right. There's some live editing here. Um, shrink this down. Okay. All right. So this is How Ryoga Met Your Mother, Chapter 2 Extended. Um, and so, Ryoga Hibiki walks up to his home, an old two-story Japanese home facing Mount Fuji. The home is in good repair. Actually, did I start reading this? Oh no, I don't remember where I was. Let's see. Let's go. Let's get some Inception level stuff going here. Let's go to my own channel where I am live, and then go like, hey, self, I know that you are live, but can I see my own archive videos while I am live? Because I know I can't follow myself. I can report myself, which is weird. Um, oh, this is getting strange. So never mind. Um, he opens the so Ryoga Hibiki walks up to his home, an old two-story Japanese home facing Mount Fuji. The home is in good repair, and he can hear his kids playing inside. He opens the front door and is greeted by the sounds of family. I'm home. I told you to stop trying to sell photos of me in the shower to your perverted friends, Ryoga's daughter yelled as she slammed her fist into her brother's face. Ah, good. You're both home. Then get your brother into the living room. I have more to tell you. Ryoga smiled as his son lay on the floor, his right leg twitching every once in a while. Yeah, okay, no, I did read this. Yeah, okay, so we did do chapter 2. So let's go chapter 3. Alright, so chapter 3, let's go. Sorry about the confusion there, guys. Ryoga waits for his kids outside of Fujinomiya High School. His graying hair resists the howl of wind in the cold winter air. Ryoga decides to lean against the wall, facing away from the school. The bell rings, and a few minutes later, his kids walk past him, arguing, and do not notice their father following them. Instinctively, Ryoga-san dodges the attack from his sister. He leans almost 90 degrees backwards as her backpack arcs through the air, the force creating the vacuum blade that cuts a tree on the other side of the street in half. He stands back up and sticks his tongue out at her. Your swing is as wide as your mouth, Kiboka. Kiboka. Kiboka slams her fist into her brother's face, the impact sending him across the street, skipping once halfway there, before slamming into a thick concrete wall. Quickly taking out a talisman from her subspace pocket, she chants a spell and sends a column of flame to descend on her brother. Feeling a tap on her shoulder, she turns, sees her father, and quickly cancels the spell before her brother gets burned. Embarrassment flushes her face, her mind quickly trying to justify a reason to incinerate her brother. She weakly smiles at her father and says, My name isn't pronounced Kiboka, it's pronounced Kiboka. You'd think he'd get that after all these years, huh, Daddy? Ryoga sighs at his daughter, trying to look cute behind her thick eyelashes. Soon his son joins them, and Ryoga looks sternly at him and chastises him. How many times have I told you not to tease your sister? We named you Hogoshaku because we thought you'd be able to protect her. Instead, you're her biggest threat. Hogoshaku sighs and apologizes to his sister. With a big smile, she gratefully accepts. Ryoga leads them to a nearby KFC, and they decide to eat there. Excitedly and innocently, they order their food, never realizing it's all an elaborate trap set by their father. It isn't until their mouths are full and he starts telling his story that they realize the mistake they made. They are trapped, and now they're going to spend the next 2 hours listening to the tale of how their father eventually meets their mother. With luck, this would be the last one. Ryoga smiles and begins. When I first started developing Anything Goes architecture martial arts, I had some unique training exercises. Things that would never be used when teaching the style today. Ryoga shifts in his seat, getting more comfortable. I had a coffee maker called Old Sparky. Whenever I used it, I'd be shocked. It would allow me to study the flow of currents in the apartment complex. I was working on how to map the pathways to help with my sense of direction. Sometimes I'd run the water from the faucet while trying to stare into it. Other times I'd go to construction sites and lift beams and crush boulders. I remember it was near the beginning of December, and I was practicing with Old Sparky when Aunt Lily came home with Aunt Akane and told us that her apartment was gone. Wait, Kiboka interrupts her father. Didn't Aunt Lily live with you and Uncle Marshall? Actually, before that, no. She had her own place. She just never really went there, Ryoga answers. She had gone by to pick up some winter clothes. So we have a scene change. Alright, so we're going to take a quick breather here. I'm going to get myself my drink ready. Drink ready, drink ready. And pop. Oh, that's some good stuff. Alright. And for dinner, we got cabeza burrito. Cabeza burrito is some of the softest, most delicious meat you can have in a burrito. And oh my god. I'm doing mukbang for my viewers right now.
How dare you? You know how much I enjoy that.
Oh my god. That was so visceral. Your no was so visceral. Like, no! It was too real. Oh my. Okay. Oh, that. Oh, sorry. I need another bite. That is so good. So good. I'm so hungry. Mm. Okay. Set this aside. I'll come back to it in a bit. Delicious, delicious burrito. More sip. Okay. Here we go. Good morning. Ryoga greeted Marshall as he walked over to the kitchen. Marshall gave a reply as he sat on the couch, his ninja quickly dispatching some demons on the screen. Ryoga did some quick warm-up exercises before going in. He took Old Sparky, an ancient electric coffee maker from the shelf. Developed in the mountains of Tibet by the lunatic inventor Daban, Old Sparky was made completely of steel and conducted the electricity from any plug you put it into through the unit and into the owner. Ryoga gave Marshall a warning that he was about to plug in Old Sparky. Quickly saving his game, Marshall waited, while Ryoga proceeded to pump 120 volts for the entire brew of the coffee. Getting any further with that training there, Ryoga? Marshall asked, as Ryoga quickly recovered from his electrocution. His heart accelerated as darkness surrounded Ryoga. Currents of electricity sprang to life. Ryoga turned to Marshall, seeing his body's electric field. Ryoga saw from behind that two people were coming up the stairs. Ryoga smiled at Marshall and calmly said, "We have visitors." As the last syllable left Ryoga's lips, the front door opened and Marshall jumped, astonishment written all over his face. Lily and Akane walked in through the door as Marshall stared at them. Dude, goosebumps. Ryoga blinked and staggered as his vision returned to normal. Rubbing his eyes, he poured some coffee as he greeted the two girls who had just come in. He could tell Lily was upset as she flopped on the couch. Curious, despite the discovery of a new technique, he asked her what was wrong. Lily finally reacted to Ryoga's probing, and after noticing Marshall's concern, she began to gather her thoughts. She tried to answer, but couldn't quite begin explaining the events that happened earlier that morning. Finally, Akane volunteered the answer. She lost her apartment. Akane sat down next to Ryoga on the love seat and took his coffee from him. She took a sip as Marshall began asking Lily what had happened. She spit the coffee back into the cup, nausea bringing bile to her throat, and returned the cup to Ryoga. Ryoga gave Akane a disapproving glare and set the cup down on the table, trying not to think about what it now contained. Akane returned his gaze as if saying, "What did you expect? It tastes rusty." After finally putting all her words together, Lily explained how she had lost her home. Alright. You know, let's see here. Chante plumere, chante plumere la tête, alouette, alouette. Thank you all for anybody who's watching the VODs, anybody who's going back to, anybody who's going back and watching things on YouTube and whatnot. Lily stared at what used to be her apartment. The sign above it was unintelligible. Her wide eyes came down to the sign inviting people into her apartment. The front door was replaced by a glass door. A sign on the window that used to be a wall said Japanese pizza. Lily couldn't even imagine what would make a pizza suddenly so Japanese, or why they would need to invade her apartment to sell it. Akane was confused, but waited until Lily cleared things up. Maybe Lily was hungry, or lost, or even confused by what the sign said, so Akane did her best to clear it up. It says okonomiyaki. It's a food dish from Japan. I had it a few times. It's pretty good. Do you want to go in and try some before we go to your apartment? Lily stifled a scream. She took a deep breath and choked a little bit. She finally looked over at Akane and explained.
Do you want any of that?
Ooh, sauce. And finally explained. Thank you.
that enough?
Yes, it's also wet and gross. Um, Finally looked over at Akane and explained, "But you see, this is my apartment. They replaced it with this eatery." Akane was still confused. She didn't know how to respond. Seeing Lily go into the store, she followed. The place was quietly busy, mostly businessmen eating some breakfast. From behind the grill, they were greeted by a cheerful and energetic Japanese welcome. How does it go? What's the Japanese restaurant greeting thing? Hold on. Japanese restaurant greeting. Let's see how it goes. In internet restaurants, they're greeted with the expression "irashimasu." Irashimasu. So, irashimasu. Um, Lily didn't even respond. She looked around, seeing people eating off of her plates, drinking out of her cups. Finally, the last straw on the floor was a stain from when she had dropped nail polish. "See? Right there, that red spot?" She showed it to Akane. Suddenly the chef came from behind the counter. Her brown hair was tied back with a white bow. She looked at Lily as if she was an illusion, then finally greeted her. "Hello, Lily. It's good to finally see you." Lily looked at the woman, trying to remember where she might know her from. Nothing came to mind. Finally, deciding that she didn't know who the chef was, Lily asked her, "I don't know you. How do you know me?" The woman apologized and bowed down briefly. "Sorry, I'm Ukyo. This is my restaurant. I recognize you from your pictures." Finally, someone else who knew that this was supposed to be her living room. Lily knew she was finally going to solve this mystery invasion. She asked, "What happened to my apartment? I kept up with my rent payments, and I know I didn't have a lease agreement per se, but Mrs. Ikoku would remember me. She was really old, but she wouldn't have forgotten me." Wouldn't have forgotten me. Lily paused. Something was wrong. It had been 3 months since she had visited her apartment. If was gone, then only one truth remained, no matter how horrible. "She's dead, isn't she?" Ukyo nodded. "I'm sorry, Sugar, but she died. We bought up the lease from the realtors. Here, I have some of your things you can take." The food was halfway gone by the time Ryoga finishes telling the events leading up to Lily moving with in with him back in 2005. His son was gnawing away on a chicken leg, while his daughter is dipping some chicken strips into some honey mustard. Ogashako finishes swallowing before asking, "How much could things change, though? I mean, you said so yourself. You guys practically live together, anyways." Ryoga nods, understanding where his son is coming from. He continues his explanation. "You see, when she was just visiting, she didn't have any of her things there. But with the move, she brought her perfectly working coffee maker, her paintings, her clothes, some of her furniture. Suddenly, our Spartan dude dwelling became a crowded apartment, and I started feeling myself being crowded out. Even by the very next day, I had found old Sparky in the trash." Kiboka interrupts. "Then how did you finally finish your training?" Ryuga hesitates and explains, "Well, I started visiting construction sites as part of my job. Then I started lifting beams and crushing rocks barehanded for strength training. And as for the electrical training, Marshall said that I might have to come up with something less lethal to train the students anyways. For the rest of that year, I didn't make much progress with it. Things ended up being unresolved, and we settled into a quiet and comfortableness. Then, during the holidays, Lily and Marshall went to visit his family, and after they came back, things were as if nothing had ever happened. We figured we just needed time to adjust, but later, when we finally talked about it, we agreed we should have talked about it back then." The three of them clean up and start walking home, Ogashako taking the lead, with Kiboka walking next to her father. The sun setting in the late afternoon sky cast long shadows ahead of the trio. Fences were on either side of the small street as they walk home. Finally, Kiboka asked, "What was the next step in your path to meeting Mother?" Ryoga smiles instinctively, happy that his kids were starting to take an interest in his story. He nods a bit, thinking about where things left off. He looks at the darkening sky and continues. After the holidays and New Year's, which were both lonely events for me, came a note in the mail, an invitation to a wedding of one of our friends. Ranma, Marshall, and Lily knew them as well. This was before we met Akane. They had hit it off pretty well and finally set a date for the wedding. You may remember how back in the 90s the world was almost invaded by aliens? Well, he was the one who saved us all, and ended up marrying the alien princess to boot. Hokushaka turns around, his mind buzzing. I don't remember that at all, he said, walking backwards with ease. Kiboka laughs. Of course, you haven't learned modern history yet. You're too young, little brother. Anyways, Ryoga interrupts before they start another fight. His name was Ataru, and her name was Lum. Now, when you get a wedding invitation and it asks you single or guest, it's asking you where do you see yourself in a couple of months? With a date or hitting on a bridesmaid? I was always hopeful, so I always checked plus one. As the wedding day approached, I was beginning to think that I wouldn't have a date to take. But then heaven smiled down on me. Akane and her boyfriend, the MMA enthusiast, broke up, and I thought that I would have a chance at getting her to go out with me. Here, let's take a little break. Let's see, here we go. All right. It's taking a little break here. My throat's getting kind of iffy. Got a user watching. Subscribe. There's no subscription yet. Follow. Um, reading some How Yoga Met Your Mother. I'm taking a little break in between the scenes. Gonna eat a bite of my dinner. So this is also a mukbang. So. That is the delicious sounds of me eating a cabeza burrito.
Crap.
Hmm?
I have food in the car.
Oh. Okay.
Fresh fruit
Mm.
and chicken salad.
Oh.
Some of the
Okay.
friends sit on the floor. Trying to Trader Joe's back. You mind getting it?
I can get it. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm sorry. In the middle of this break. So, I'll be right back. back. Chilling. Hey! Alright, guys. Thank you for your patience, gamers. And, oh man, it is hot, so you probably hear the constant stream of my fan, so sorry about that. Okay, let's go here. Ooh, Gesundheit!
Thank you.
Thank you. Plate. If you want to put some kind of sauce or lemon juice on a burrito, it's gonna get liquidy. So, alright. Just gonna let this get second. And I start eating that again. Ryuga's eyes shined like 1,000 suns. His step was bouncy and free. He even did a pirouette as he crossed the street. Ryoga was ecstatic. Over and over he chanted, "She said yes, she said yes, she said yes." People in the street quickly moved out of the way. Others from across the street wondered if there was some sort of promotion going on. One woman thought he was kinda cute, as she flipped a sign of her store open. It was with little surprise to Ryoga, however, as he came down from his emotional high, that he was now lost. Quickly glancing around, he realized that he had somehow made it to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Sighing, he started walking back to New York. No point in being happy if you're not going to be back in time for it, Ryoga thought to himself. He was just glad that Akane was going with him to the wedding. Picturing it in his head, Ryoga saw himself dancing with Akane. Her body pressed close to his as they leaned forward and kissed. Quacking and a flutter of wings snapped Ryoga out of his daydream. Ryoga set down the duck he was about to make out with. Ryoga straightened his shirt, looking around to get his bearings. Ryoga spotted a large alien spaceship in the middle of a field. Recognizing it as Loom's ship, he approached it, hoping to get a ride home. The ship was yellow and black with tiger-like stripes on the outside. Shaped like a frog, it squatted in the field, its front ramp hanging open. Walking up to the sealed front door, Ryoga located the greeting bell. Soon the door slid back and up to let him in. The inside of the ship was like some sort of 1950s Art Deco project submitted by a drunk and sex-deprived failure of an artist. Loom flew up to Ryoga, her body not even decently covered in her black striped bikini. Long green hair bounced and flowed as she gracefully twisted through the air, a perverse slow-motion peep show. She finally settled down and invited Ryoga to join her on the visiting chamber's couch. Ryoga held his nose and leaned forward, hoping to stop his nose from bleeding. Feeling the hot rush of blood finally cooling as he acclimated to Loom's sexuality, Ryoga finally joined her on the couch. "Hey, Loom, what are you doing in Washington, D.C.? I thought the wedding was up in New York." Lum laughed right in Ryoga's face before she could stop herself. She quickly covered her mouth, but her eyes still sparkled with laughter. Finally, she replied, "Ryoga, we are in New York. Want me to drop you off at home?" Ryoga laughed half-heartedly and nodded. He tried looking everywhere but at Lum. Her body always had an effect on him, and he still wondered how she seemed to be so in love with Ataru. Traces of the upcoming wedding could be seen throughout the sitting room. Trying to change the subject away from his sense of direction, Ryoga decided to talk about his latest bit of good news. "So, I asked Akane to go to the wedding with me. I think you'll like meeting her." Lum's eyebrows came together, and a partially pained look crossed her face. Relaxing a bit, she asked slowly, "What do you mean you invited someone?" "You are SVP'd to come alone. I can't fit anybody else. It's far too late for that." Ryoka grasped for a response, his mouth stuttering like a motorboat. "I already invited her. I'm pretty sure I marked +1. I always mark +1 just in case." Ryoka stood up and began pacing around the bolted couch. Lum flipped her hair and, as nonchalantly as she could muster, said, "Well, we're at your home. Too bad you're going to have to tell her she can't come." A push of a button later, and Ryoga was dropped off the roof of his apartment building. He hadn't even known they were flying. Luckily, all I had to do was call Ataru. He gave permission for me to bring Akane. I didn't even imagine it would ruin everything. Finally making it home, Ryoga greeted Marshall and Lily. Lily smiled at Ryoga. I've been out shopping all day with Akane. She's going to look so good. Ryoga smiled at Lily. Yeah, almost didn't make it. According to Loom, I marked myself as going alone. Ataru okayed it, though. Marshall nodded. See, Lily, a wedding is 50-50 between a man and a woman. Lily looked aghast. You went behind the bride? Ryoga, you never go behind the bride. This will end badly. As Lily spoke, her prophetic doom came to pass. The signal was clear as night and day. The phone rang. Answering the phone, Lily already understood what the sound of Lum's voice meant. She nodded, not realizing that Lum couldn't see it. Finally, she hung up and stared at Ryoga. Lum and Ataru had a big fight. They're not getting married. Ryoga and Marshall stared. Finally getting his brain to function again, Ryoga asked, What happened? They fought over Ataru allowing you to bring your date. Pretty soon she electrocuted him and he gave up and walked out. She said since you're the cause of the breakup that you can pay her father back for the wedding. Ryoga sat down with an audible thump, his body limp and molding onto the surface of the recliner. Looking at Lily, he asked, How much? $1 trillion, essentially all the gas on the planet, Lily answered with a measured tone. You have to go talk to him, Ryoga. Take Marshall with you. You can't let this happen. With a nod, Marshall and Ryoga left to find Ataru. Alright, let's take a break here. I appreciate you guys indulging my breaks. I'm hungry. Nom nom nom. It's so good, bro. Thank you for coming to my secret mukbang video. Tell all your friends to come and subscribe for more hidden mukbang. That is refreshing. Okay. Oh, that was good. Alright. Ataru opened the door to let Marshall and Ryoga inside. The hotel room was a suite near the top floor. Ataru immediately went back to packing away his clothes. Sorry, I can't offer you guys anything, but I have to finish packing. Ryoga nodded for a bit before snapping himself into action. You can't break up with Loom. You know what will happen to the planet? What her people will do? Ataru slowed down, then shook his head in resolution. No, you don't live with her. I'm always getting shocked. It's too much work. It's too hard to keep her happy. I'm going to stop this wedding, and I'm going to go out and have fun. I miss bar hopping with you guys. I miss being single. Ryoga sighed in frustration. He knew this argument well. Ataru never failed to use it. Ryoga went with the usual reply, Ataru, what you have now is what I want. To have someone to be with, someone who will be there for you for the rest of our lives. Besides, do you really miss being puked on? Do you really miss being alone? Before Ataru could answer, Marshall jumped in. You know what, Ataru? Don't. You see, a relationship is work. It's hard work. You have to make compromises, and you have to know when not to fight about something. But when you're with someone you love, it's easy. It's easy because you love them and you want to do those things for them. If you don't love Lum, then don't marry her. All you're going to be doing is hurting the both of you. Marshall, Ryoga despaired, thinking of the world being angry with him for costing them all of the gasoline on the planet. Ataru stood in stunned silence. Finally, he understood. He understood everything. He nodded to Marshall. You're right. It should be easy. But I do love her, and I'm willing to work on it to make it easy. Ryoga walks along with his two children. They're coming up to the house, but stand just outside the door, not wanting to dispel the illusion that Ryoga's story has cast on the three. We took Ataru to see Lum. By the time we found her, she was at the Neko Haunted, drunk and talking to your Uncle Ranma. Ataru apologized, and the wedding was back on. Lum even let me bring Akane along. A couple of days later, it was the wedding, and I went to pick up Akane in her apartment. Ryoga knocked on the olive green door. Within moments, Akane opened the door from the other side and smiled broadly and radiantly at the nervous Ryoga. Ryoga handed a bouquet of roses to Akane, and she invited him inside. You look amazing, Ryoga drank in, her long bluish-black hair. She was wearing a velvety red dress that hugged her body the way he wished he could. Every move she made invited his eyes to feast on her beauty. Akane relished the attention he was giving her. You don't look so bad yourself. Well, let's get going. The two headed downstairs to the taxi that Ryoga had left waiting. As they came up to it, a fat, dorky man with curly hair and a t-shirt with some unknown meme ran up to them. Akane immediately recognized one of the interns from Metro News 1. He spoke in a voice that was 2 parts nerd and 1 part geek. Akane, Kuno couldn't make it. He caught the bird flu. You have to be anchor tonight. Akane panicked. When do I have to be in? Right now. Come on, said the sweaty intern. Akane finally remembered how she was dressed and where she was going. She turned to Ryoga, an apology written across her face. I'm sorry, Ryoga, but this is my dream and my chance at becoming an anchor. Ryoga understood. He knew how much Akane had been longing for this opportunity. It's okay, go before you're late. Akane hugged Ryoga and then followed the intern to the Metro News 1 van. Ryoga got into the taxi and went to Lum's wedding. Thinking back to what Marshall had said, Ryoga realized being with Akane was just not meant to be. It should be easy, Marshall had said, but being with Akane was anything but easy. I got to that wedding with the thought that it would be the beginning of the rest of my life. Little did I know how close to the truth I was at that time. Ranma stared, a couple tables over, at a beautiful young bridesmaid. Her short, brown, silky hair complemented her mocha-colored skin. Her breasts were the size of juicy melons. Next to her was a beautiful redhead with spiky, long hair and dark, inviting eyes. Her dress was slit up one leg almost past her hip. They were talking to a cute woman with long brown hair tied back with a bow. Her dress was black and short enough to only leave a small portion of her thighs to the imagination. An annoying sound began buzzing in Ranma's ear. Becoming faintly aware that Ryoga was talking about something, Ranma let him finish before letting him in on what his plan was. Yeah, that's great, but look at those bridesmaids over there, Ryoga. 2 8s and a 7. Now, I'm willing to bring myself down to a 15 and let you have one of the 8s. What do you say? Ryoga wanted to be repulsed by Ranma. He wanted to say no. Ryoga wanted to wait for Akane. Are you looking for napkins? Sorry, sweetheart.
No.
Oh.
For my markers.
Oh, that I don't know. Ryoga wanted to wait for Akane, but he also realized that Akane and him would never happen. Their relationship was refusing to work, as if fate was dealing him a poker hand, and all he wanted to do was play blackjack. Ryoga looked over at the 3 bridesmaids. He made his decision. With a nod at Ranma, Ryoga got up, and they both approached the bridesmaids' table. Alright, we have kind of a big scene jump here, so let's take a little break. Get more delicious burrito biting action happening. Delicious cabeza burrito. Why do you make everything so delicious? For those who don't know, a cabeza burrito is head meat and onions and cilantro. And it's delicious. Alright. Morning burst into Ryoga's room like some rude, nosy neighbor. The morning light disenchanted Ryoga's reality, taking away his dreams, making them fade into oblivion. The world was just as miserable and lonely as ever. Except. Except that now Ryoga had a set of memories filtering through his mind. Memories that shoved their way to the front of his thoughts. Memories that brought a smile to his face that he hoped would never leave. The clock said it was almost 10 in the morning, and Ryoga decided to take its word for it, though it had been a few minutes off before. Looking back at the bed, wishing to see the girl of his dreams there, he sighed when he found himself to be alone. Her chocolate brown hair wafted through his mind's vision. Ryoga threw on some sweatpants and a shirt. He took a deep breath, thought about her again, and went to get himself some coffee. Marshall and Lily were already up, sitting on the couch like they always did after breakfast. It was the last bit of coffee that sat warming in Lily's coffee maker. Ryoga poured himself some. Lily and Marshall looked at each other, sharing one of those silent conversations they usually had when trying not to let anyone know what they were thinking. So close were their thoughts that they knew what the other was thinking, and often no words were even needed for them to share their thoughts, but merely a look. They were gazing at each other when Ryoga joined them. Lily looked back to Ryoga and smiled. "So, where did you disappear to last night?" Ryoga remembered her again. He remembered her smile and smiled himself. He looked at Marshall and Lily, a goofy, silent grin on his face. He said, "Last night was one of the best nights of my life." Marshall matched Ryoga's goofy smile, remembering the wedding the previous night, remembering the dreams that stalked even his waking mind. "Tell me about it. That cake was amazing. My stomach wouldn't shut up about it." Marshall was thinking with his stomach again. Then again, coming from a family as big and tall as Marshall's, it wasn't surprising. They were like giants among mortals. Ryoga paused, imagining Marshall throwing rocks at night as knights tried to reach him at the top of a hill. Then Ryoga laughed healthily at Marshall. "That cake is haunting you, huh?" Marshall nodded, his eyes huge with frosty desire. Lily laughed along with Ryoga. She had been dealing with Marshall talking about the cake all night, even when they had been celebrating their first agreement in the wedding planning that morning. She looked back at Ryoga. "Okay, enough with the cake. So what happened last night?" Ryoga stopped laughing, a little abruptly. Chocolate-colored hair floated on the edges of his vision. He thought for a moment before saying, "I met the most amazing woman last night, and I'll never see her again, and it's better that way." Marshall and Lily were confused. They wondered what was so great about never seeing someone amazing again. With curiosity nibbling at them, they allowed Ryoga to proceed with his story. So, right now, this is actually a flashback of a flashback, because Ryoga is telling his kids about waking up the next day and telling Marshall and Lily about what happened the night before. Why do I do this to myself? Ryoga sat across from the cute woman with the short, tight black dress and the white bow that held up her hair. Her eyes gleamed with laughter and an inward happiness seen in those who do what they love for a living. She was sipping on rice wine, while Ryoga drank scotch. She smiled at him. "I should tell you before we go any further, I have a rule. I never hook up at weddings." Ryoga silently and inwardly lamented his luck. She must have had many bad experiences. Another one who would not commit. Better to start on safe grounds like this than to not start at all. Ryoga smiled at her, curiously leaning forward a bit. He spoke teasingly. "I'm guessing you haven't always had this role?" She smiled again. She gazed at his handsome features and strong shoulders. His eyes echoed into her soul. She explained, "These big romantic moments are not real. People walk around with wedding goggles." Ryoga understood where she was coming from. He was so pent up with frustration, with just wanting to be happy and together with someone, that he often would not notice things for what they really were. He nodded, understanding her on a level she might never have expected him to. He decided to let go of his past for tonight. He needed to give up on Akane. He needed to move on. He said, "I know what you mean. For example, I first saw you when you were out on the dance floor doing the chicken dance. I must say, I fell in love at first sight." She genuinely laughed all the way to her eyes. She leaned forward a bit more, almost imperceptibly, like a ninja. This time she teased him. "You should see me tap dance. You'd be down on bended knee." Ryoga laughed at himself and muttered, "That wouldn't be too far from the truth." He took another drink from his scotch and smiled at her again. "That's why I'm not even flirting with you." She looked at him in mock shock. Her hands were playing with the thick napkin that sat in front of her. She was distractedly folding it into different origami shapes. She smiled as she spoke. "You mean these aren't your moves?" Ryoga shook his head no. He thought what he had done to get Akane's attention. He flushed a little, feeling foolish. He finished the scotch to buy himself some time to regain confidence. Ryoga explained, "People 10 tables away would know if I was putting the moves on you." She looked disappointed. The way her head bobbed a little, sank a tiny bit. Her eyes looked at him and through him. Maybe her denial had come out too strongly. Coming up with an idea to spend more time with her handsome new acquaintance, she said, "That's too bad. But I think I have a solution if you're interested." The damnable light of hope lit the end of the night. Ryoga nodded, eager to keep talking with her, wanting to figure out who she was, hoping they would connect on some mystical deep level, or more honestly, some carnal level as well. "Let me just say, first, that we are not going to have sex tonight," she began. Less interested, Ryoga teased, hoping his frustration didn't leak into his words. She laughed again, with the smile all the way to her eyes. He was starting to like that smile. Marshall and Lily were sitting quietly as he told his story. Ryoga finished his coffee and continued. "So she made the suggestion of us just making it a one-night deal. No contact after the party. No names, no numbers, no email, nothing." "Oh, that's lame." Marshall shook his head. "What's wrong with you?" Lily sighed at Ryoga's continued ineptitude. "No, it was great," Ryoga came to his own defense. "I had a great night, and now it will never be ruined." Marshall tried to find the words to properly explain to Ryoga the magnitude of his mistake. "Ryoga, last night I had the most amazing cake in my life. Do you think I'm just going to let it out of my life? No. I'm going to find out what bakery made that cake, and then I'm going to get more cake." Ignoring her husband's continued obsession, Lily asked, "What happened next?" Flashes from the previous night played back in Ryoga's head. He closed his eyes, focusing on them, remembering in detail her hair and eyes. He remembered her dress, and even the cute white bow on her head. Ryoga opened his eyes and gave them the highlights. "We came up with fake names. She decided on Buttercup, and I chose Butch." "PPG, awesome." Marshall smiled and high-fived Ryoga. Ryoga continued, "First I took a couple of wine glasses and a bottle of champagne. Then, as I called for Lum and Atara to kiss, Buttercup stole the bouquet." Lily nodded in agreement. "Good for her. That's a horrible tradition." Ryoga continued, "We danced. We talked. We almost kissed." Marshall and Lily looked at each other, and Marshall asked, "How do you almost kiss?" Ryoga remembered sitting down with Buttercup, their faces coming closer, his heart beating in his chest, the smell of her lipstick. His mouth parted slightly, her breath lightly teasing his lips. They breathed heavily, their eyes closed. Briefly, their noses made a connection, and it was like a lightning bolt. Ryoga could see her electrical field. His senses were on edge. He opened his eyes and backed away, no longer trusting himself. Back in the present, Ryoga simply answered, It was all part of her plan, to have it not be real. Just a drum roll, as she put it. But Marshall knew what Ryoga was thinking. He knew his best friend had finally understood the mistake he had made. So you didn't get her real name at all? Ryoga shook his head. I guess I'll never see her again. Lily couldn't believe that all of it was lost. She sounds amazing. Was she there with anyone else? Maybe someone knew her? Ryoga lit up. Ranma hooked up with one of the bridesmaids at her table. She might know who Buttercup really is. I just have to ask Ranma to call her up. Alright, quick break. Gotta moisten them lips. Lip moistening, if you will. Where did my oh, it's sitting here. Whew. Where is... Yeah. Alright. 12 followers. It's not showing me who the new follower is. That's annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
The glasses look
10.
good on you.
Thank you. Glasses look good off of you. Ah, I'm losing everything. Ah, nothing stable. Okay. No, Ranma shook his head and took another drink from his beer. The Nikohantan was mostly empty, and he sat with Marshall and Ryoga in their usual booth. Ranma, I really like this girl, Ryoga pleaded, trying to annoy Ranma into submission. Ranma ignored the whining in Ryoga's voice. If only his friend could see the futility and wrongness of going after just one girl. Ranma stood his ground. First of all, I told that girl I was going to the Peace Corps. I'm supposed to be flying to Guatemala right now. Second, I never call a girl a second time. Ryoga couldn't believe that Ranma was trying to ruin his chance at love. There must be some weakness he could exploit in Ranma. Ryoga remembered something that Ranma was always trying to drag him to. Ryoga said, okay, how about if you call her, I'll agree to go to Foxy Boxing with you. Blood pounded in Ranma's ears for a split second. Gung gung. He looked at Ryoga, praising his friend's earnestness. Ranma said, but you said Foxy Boxing girls were neither foxy nor good at boxing. A smile weaseled into Ryoga's face. He knew he had said the right thing. Now, to seal the deal, Ryoga said, I'm ready to be proven wrong. A speed dial later, and Ranma was talking to the bridesmaid from the night before. Ryoga sat in rapt attention listening to Ranma's responses, trying to pry some tidbit of information earlier than it would be given to him. Ranma smiled as he spoke into the phone. Hey, Rihanna. Yeah, the flight got delayed till tomorrow. I was wondering if you remember one of the girls at your table last night? My friend was hoping you'd know her name. Her shoes? He's a guy. How would he know what kind of shoes she was wearing? A flash of chocolate-covered high heels with snowflakes. Ryoga interrupted Ranma. Actually, I do remember her shoes. She took them off to do a cartwheel, and so I remember them. His best friend was such a pussy. Ranma just couldn't believe it. He spoke into the phone. Apparently they were chocolate-covered pumps with snowflakes on them. Yeah, they do sound cute. So her name was Kwonji? Great. I'll let him know. Tonight? Well, I have to be on the flight pretty early, so I won't be able to sleep over. Sure, I'll stop by tonight. Ranma paused before looking at Ryoga. He was going to have to back out of Foxy Boxing for a smoking hot, super kinky bridesmaid. It would be worth it. Ranma said, sorry, Ryoga. I'm going to have to skip Foxy Boxing. Maybe another day, okay? Her name was Kwonji. Sounds like a last name. Ryoga thanked Ranma. Ranma said goodbye to the both of them and left to meet up with Rihanna. Marshall and Ryoga shared a moment of painful anticipation before Ryoga dialed Lum's mobile phone. Each ring of the phone was an agonizing eternity. Finally, Lum answered. Hey, Ryoga, what's going on? The moment of truth. She must know who Kuonji was. Lum held Ryoga's future in her hands. Ryoga said, "Hey, Lum! Great wedding. Listen, I was hoping to ask you a couple of questions." Lum asked him what he wanted. Ryoga breathed in. Air traveled through his lungs into his center. He imagined himself as solid and strong as a rock. Ryoga breathed out slowly. He said, "I was calling because I met this girl last night and I was wondering if..." Lum started yelling on the other side of the phone. Ryoga pulled the phone away from his ear and held it at arm's length. From the phone came Lum's voice. "Just a few days ago, you were begging me to bring a girl to my wedding, and now you're over her?" Ryoga cowed, said, "I moved on." There was an audible sound from the phone, followed by, "Fine. Who was she?" Ryoga hoped the Raman's information was correct. He said, "I don't have her first name. Her last name was Kuonji." Lum's voice suddenly sounded cheerful. "Oh, you're in luck, Ryoga. I still have the entire guest list in the ship's computer." Relief and joy echoed in Ryoga's eyes, his smile, even his hair, until Lum finished her sentence. "Unfortunately, she's not on it." Lum hung up, and Ryoga hung his head in his hands. Marshall came over to his friend's side of the booth and patted him on the back. Ryoga looked at Marshall and sighed. "I've just been saved from myself. It's fate. I'm not supposed to know who she is." Marshall gave Ryoga a wistful half-smile. "I have an idea. Let's get drunk." Ryoga sits in his den, his two teenage children listening to him describe the difficulties he was having. He continues, "I thought that was it, but fate had something else in store for me." Akane sat next to Lily on a couch, wiping away the tears in her eyes. Akane's eyes were red, her lips dry. She was snotting up and was using toilet paper as a tissue. Lily couldn't stand it any longer. "You have to tell him." Akane sighed, looking everywhere in her apartment except Lily. Akane was trying to rationalize a million reasons to not tell Ryoga. None of them were working. Finally she nodded. "You're right, Lily. I'm going to go tell him." Marshall read the text he got from Lily. She was on her way to the bar with Akane. He texted back to her that finding the girl was a no-go. Marshall took another drink, waiting for Ryoga to come back from the bathroom. Akane and Lily came into the bar. Spotting Ryoga walking to the table, Lily shoved Akane at him. He caught Akane in his arms. Her hands had come up to brace herself and now rested on his chest. His arms thick and muscular chest drove Akane to distraction. Ryoga asked her if she was okay. She looked up into his eyes, feral, sad, and drunk. She gathered her courage. She spoke softly. "Ryoga." His mobile was ringing. They both tried to ignore it, but it was too loud. Finally giving up, she told him to answer it. He just nodded. As he listened to the other end of the phone, his eyes widened in shock. A surprised smile came to his face. Ryoga hung up the phone and turned to Marshall. "That was Lum. Kuonji wasn't on the guest list because she wasn't a guest. She was the caterer. Come on, I have her address." Marshall followed Ryoga, pausing briefly to see if Lily was coming with them. Lily shook her head no. They had another quick, silent conversation. Sighing, they kissed each other briefly before going to support their best friend. Akane cried as Lily held her. The taxi cab sat outside Ukchan's. Inside, through the bay window, Ryoga and Marshall watched her work. Ryoga stared at her, thinking of the previous night, thinking of her hair and her laugh, thinking of Akane. Ryoga thought about what Akane wanted to say to him before he left. "Ryoga, the meter's still running," Marshall prodded his friend. Ryoga nodded, getting out of the car. Before the door closed, he heard Marshall shout out, "Ask her where she ordered the cake from!" From the car, Marshall saw Ryoga walk inside. With a brief moment, the chef inside did nothing. Then she ran up to him and they were kissing, deeply, passionately. Knowing his friend finally found a girl that was right for him, Marshall told the cab to take him home. Ryoga smiles at his kids. From the open window, he hears their three pigs snoring outside. He finishes his story. "And so we started dating. Aside from your Aunt Akane, Ukyo was my first big, true love, and what she taught me stayed with me to this day." Kiboka sighs. She gets up and kisses her father goodnight. Her brother Hogashaku hugged his father goodnight and followed his sister upstairs to their rooms. Ryoga smiles, thinking back to the first month he was with Ukyo. Sometimes you can go too slow, he thought to himself. Sometimes you have to plunge in. He hopes he can teach them that. He hopes he can get them to understand what it means to be in love. That's the end of chapter 3. It's extended. So I think it was originally 6 chapters, and then I just combined each chapter into doubles. This is, of course, based on How I Met Your Mother. I had like this whole thing set up. So I did a rough attempt on chapter 9, which is continuing the story. But this ends pretty fast. And it pretty much is like the season end of the first season of How I Met Your Mother. And if anybody has seen that show, spoiler alert, it doesn't end where I ended chapter 3 there. It goes on for quite a bit. 8 chapters, I guess I reduced to 3. So the ultimate goal was to get Ryoga with Akari Unryo. That's why they have family pigs. And then reveal the fact that she had died and he's trying to get with Akane after Akane had been with Ranma. So there's this whole thing there. But that is, since I didn't write that, that's the end of that story. Oh, hey, hi. Hi, my name is Celestial Ludenberg. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just taking my break from reading the stuff and getting into the chat room here. Refresh. Are you still here? No. I had a follower earlier, but it didn't update my feed on who followed me. So if that was you, thank you. Danganronpa 1 and 2 self-insert. Alright, I'll open this up. And let's see, we got 12 chapters. Prologue's pretty short. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll read this. Let's move this over. Is that? Drag this into here. Alright. Didn't do any requests for any shout outs, but here we go. Let's see. Hello, I only take breaks for each chapter and sorry breaks. Sorry if I didn't respond earlier. Well, it doesn't show that they're here. Maybe they're hiding, so respond if you're here. And let's see. So that was my How Ryoga Met Your Mother story, and I think that's all the stories that I have that are like kind of like the bigger multi-section ones. I have some other stories that I tried for let's see, what's this one? Let's see, Kane's girlfriend. Kane gets drunk and experiments with a succubus. Accidentally gets the succubus pregnant. Lactating succubus is refined and processed. Come from peoples who dreamt of Akane, giving Akane visions of the dreams. Wow. Jeez, what was my ideas? Unraveled lies. Nabiki. The things that she had always dreamed about her deep. Oh, so there's a song called "Unraveled Lies," and it always reminded me of Nabiki. So, the things that she had always dreamt about, her deep desires, she had to show them all. Grew up in poor conditions, yet you saw her eyes spark fires. She'd rather fight than fall. She turned her can'ts to cans, and her dreams to plans. She's at the top of everything, but she's alone. She would escape if only she had known. All deceptions were a game to her eyes until faced with the unraveled lies. As she was standing by the shore to face a new arrival who changed her life for good, she didn't know that it would start a struggle for survival, upsetting where she stood. Her sacrifice for gain was all in vain. So that's from the song "Unraveled Lies." Um, all of those words are. I had two Rene Ranma one half crossovers that I did, and Ryoga Rain, which I could read next time. Let's see, Ryoga Rain, what's this one? This was like a poem I think I wrote. When I gaze into your soul, I can see your love for me. But when you hold me, there's something there that shouldn't be. Nothing is eternal, both of our hearts could change, and it's hard to keep my love burning in this unforgiving rain. We spent every night together trying to ease your pain, but your love comes and goes, and I'm not the one to blame. If you lay it on the line, let me know that you are mine. I could die happy and fight for you all of the time. But he never leaves you alone. He's always in your thoughts. I wanted us to be together and pretend we never fought. If you want me, don't hold back, or I'll walk into the rain. I know it's hard to keep an open heart when your heart is made of glass. But if I leave you alone, I'll just leave you with the pain. If you ever heal your heart, it will just hurt you again. As time goes by and shadows fill the gap, I hope you can love me when no one else can take the blame. So if you just ignore the darkness and hold on to my hand, I can help you pass this cursed eternal rain. Because if you don't love me and all I bring is pain, you'll still need somebody to get through the rain. The idea is Ryoga thinking of Akane while waiting for the rain to end so that he can leave where he's at. Let's see, and then I have Who's Ranma? Um, Man, this is 2000. Look at this. Look at this. Start Tuesday, July 25th, 2000. Finished Friday, April 20th, 2001. First edit, second edit. In chapter 1, there's something about Ranma. How old is this? This is so old. The sun rises from its sleepy death, casting its warm morning glory upon Tokyo. This Saturday morning in the Tendo Dojo, the proprietor awakes later than usual. Son Tendo leaves his bed and does some quick morning stretches. His body is fit and firm from years of martial arts training. His long, straight black hair, his distinguished mustache, his dark, fierce eyes, and his great height of 6 feet gives him almost a regal bearing. He heads downstairs, where his breakfast awaits him. The others must have already eaten, thinks Son to himself. He quickly eats his breakfast and heads towards the bathroom. On the way, he stops by the kitchen, and through the curtain that divides the kitchen and hall says, "Thank you, Kasumi." "You're welcome, father," replies Son's eldest daughter as she goes and fetches the plates he left. Quickly finishing her kitchen duties for the morning, she removes her apron. Kasumi is wearing a simple, pale red dress. Long, chestnut hair is tied in a ponytail that hangs over her right shoulder. She goes upstairs to her room to get the book that she had to return to Dr. Tofu. She smiles as she picks up the book. She's about to leave the house. As she's about to leave the house, she bumps into her younger sister. "Oh, Nabiki," Kasumi excuses herself past her younger sibling. "Oh, excuse me, Kasumi." Nabiki passes her and goes up to her own room. Nabiki is wearing a black and white horizontally striped tube top that enhances the appearance of her breasts. She's also wearing tight jeans that hug her figure. She has a bowl-cut hairstyle that is a bit longer in the back. Once in her room, Nabiki throws herself on the bed. I hope Akane isn't too suspicious. I can't have anybody finding out. Start obligatory flashback number 1. Nabiki is walking down the street heading home after a meeting with Sayuri. Along the way, she ran into her little sister Akane, who was out for her morning jog. Akane was wearing her jogging outfit, shorts and a sleeveless tee. She was short. She has short black-blue hair that was slightly matted down from sweat. Oh, Nabiki, what are you doing out here? Akane stopped jogging a bit. Oh, just staying in shape, Nabiki lied and then ran off down the street to her house. But why are you jogging in jeans and a tube top? Akane asked more to herself than to her sister. Shrugging her shoulders of the matter, Akane continued her morning jog. End obligatory flashback number 1. Akane finally gets home and goes out back to the training hall. Her father is already warming up. She bows to him as she enters and goes to the side to change. Soon, the two family members stand facing each other like polar opposites. Akane, small, fierce, dressed in an off-white gi. Son, tall, dark, wears a dark blue gi. They bow and take ready fighting stances. Ranma wakes up feeling a jab of pain at his side. Ow! He exclaims as he sits up on the park bench. Ranma rubs away the sleepiness from his eyes. His dirty trench coat hangs loosely from him. A police officer stands there, twirling his nightstick. A bit late in the morning for bums like you to be out and about, says the officer with a snide leer. Oh, sorry, officer, I'll be moving along. Ranma stands up and tries to get into a better position. Fine, says the officer, just don't let it happen again. No problem, officer. Ranma runs. Kya! Squalls Akane as she commits herself to a right-legged roundhouse. Kya! Is Son's reply as he blocks the powerful kick. Not sparing a moment, Son wraps his arms around the leg and bringing his right hand to the knee, he spins to his left and tosses her to the wall. Akane flies headfirst at the wall. Just before she reaches it, she kicks up, flips over, and plants her feet against the wall. Her motion counters and she rolls to the floor to her feet. Ranma wanders aimlessly. Where is the Tendo Dojo? He screams to the heavens. May I help you? Asks Kasumi as she arrives at the front door from her trip to Dr. Tofu's. Before her stands a young boy, about 17 years of age. He has green hair that is tied back in a pigtail, and he is wearing a dirty old trench coat. Huh? Ranma looks at the young lady before him. You're looking for the Tendo Dojo, right? Kasumi smiles. Yeah, he whispers back in shock. You're here. Kasumi motions to towards the sign in front of the door. Tendo School for Indiscriminate Grappling, Ranma reads out loud. Son and Akane finally take a break from their workout. I'm going to get washed up, Akane bows to her father and goes to the house. She passes by Kasumi and the dirty young man. Oh, hello, Akane. Do you know where father is? Asks Kasumi. He's in the dojo, Akane answers, then leans in closer to whisper. Who's he? His name is Ranma. He's here to see father, Kasumi answers. Kind of dirty, isn't he? Akane comments to her sister. I'm right here, you know, Ranma indignantly rebukes. Indignantly. Man, I couldn't get that second N going. Oh, sorry, Mr. Bum. I'll let you be on your way, excuse me. Akane bows, leaves quickly, and heads to the bathroom. The name's Ranma! This way, Ranma. Kasumi ushers him towards the dojo. Thanks. Kasumi enters the dojo and retrieves her father. Father, this is Ranma Jin. He's here to speak with you? Thank you, Kasumi. So nods, indicating to be left alone with the young man. After Kasumi leaves, Ranma speaks up. I'm here to ask your daughter's hand in marriage. Son gazes coolly at the young man with the dirty trench coat and green pigtailed hair. Why would you consider yourself worthy of such an honor? Son eyes Ranma carefully. How can I prove my worth? Defeat me in battle. What type? Martial arts, of course. Of course. So, are you up to it, boy? I'll be back in 2 weeks. Be ready for me then. I will win your daughter's hand. Ranma turns away and begins walking away. Ranma! Yes, turning around. Which daughter are you interested in anyway? Any will do. Are you some sort of delinquent? No. But after I win, I get free choice. Of any who are left. Agreed. Agreed. And with that, Ranma makes a quick exit. The sky over Nerima darkens as Tokyo receives a quick cold shower. Soon afterwards, the sun comes out, and the afternoon looks like it'll be calm. The Tendo home is quiet as Son talks with his 3 daughters. They sit at the table, a low wooden one, with Son on one side and his daughters on the other, ranking from eldest to youngest. How can I say this, begins Son. Your fiancé's... Fiancé? Interrupts the girls. Yes, continues Son. The son of a very good friend of mine. The son's name is Ranma Saotome. If one of you were to marry him and carry on this training hall, the Nintendo legacy would be secured. Wait a minute, Akane intervenes. Don't we have some say in who we're gonna marry? She's right, Daddy. First Ranma, and now Ranma, exclaims Kasumi. What are you talking about, Kasumi? Asks Nabiki as she tries to milk as much information as possible. A boy showed up this morning and challenged Father for an engagement to one of us. Was he cute? Kasumi, you were spying on your own father? Son indignantly stands. Well, that's what you deserve, Akane yells, her face appearing demonic for brief flashes. Yeah, he was cute, rather young, Kasumi answers. Wow, Kasumi, she yelled at me. Son hides behind his eldest daughter. Now, father, just calm down, Kasumi counsels him. I can't believe you two, Akane screams. What does it matter if he's cute or not? Akane's right, Son recovers. Besides, we should focus on Ranma, not Ranma. Who? Asked Nabiki. Ranma Saotome, your fiancé, Son teeters on the edge. So is he cute? I hope he's older than me. Younger men are so young, Kasumi adds. I don't know, Son takes a serious face. You don't know, deadpans Nabiki. I never met him. So what do you know about him? Asked Nabiki and Kasumi in unison. His father recently took Ranma to China on a training trip, Son explains. Ooh, China, exclaims Nabiki. What's so great about hiking through China? Connie turns away from the discussion, disgusted. Connie's answer never comes as the sound of fighting comes from the front of the house. Said sound then begins traveling into the house towards the family, becoming more distinct. Put me down, old man. I don't want to marry anyone right now, comes a young, muffled voice with onyx black hair, red silk Chinese shirt, and black satin pants carried by a rather large panda walking on 2 legs. The Tendo family stares in shock as the panda sets down the black-haired teen. Said teen holds a small pink pig. My name is Ranma Saotome, the teen explains dejectedly. Sorry about this. You're Ranma? Son asks. Yes, comes a simple answer from the now nervous teen. Oh, happy day, Son gleefully begins to embrace Ranma. Attempting to prevent the pig from being crushed, Ranma puts a foot to Son's face. Sorry, just protecting the pig, Ranma quickly amends. Quite alright, my boy. Have a seat, Son invites. Here, sit next to me, Nabiki offers. Thanks, Ranma answers, all flustered-like. Still holding the pig, Ranma sits. The panda wanders around the porch a bit before setting down a spell. So, Ranma, what are you doing with a panda and a pig? Son asks what he hopes to be an ice-breaking question. Ranma stalls. Daddy, don't go grilling the girl, Nabiki reprimands. Ranma's a girl? Ranma stares incomprehensively. His daughters stare at him, bringing life back to his shocked body. I thought Genma's son was a boy, he croaked. Ranma eloquently explains the situation. Don't mind him, Ranma. Why don't you come up to my room with me? We could talk, Nabiki offers. Nabiki leads Ranma upstairs to her room. Ranma has the piglet with her. They enter Nabiki's room. Nabiki's room is well kept, a desk with monitor and keyboard and mouse set up against one wall. Another wall has a television set on a wood stand and a video cassette recorder and a camera on a tripod next to it. Over the television, a shelf holds several books. On the wall, opposite the TV, her bed sits lengthwise under the window. The nearby stand holds a phone and alarm clock. Nabiki offers Ranma a seat on the bed, and she herself takes the metal desk chair. Sorry about my father down there. He can be pretty obtuse at times. Nabiki apologizes. It's okay. Ranma shifts around uncomfortably. Nabiki seems to be staring right through her. So, Ranma, what do you like to do for fun? Nabiki tries to break down Ranma's barrier. I'm a martial artist, Ranma quickly replies. So that's why you have that figure. So when did you start martial arts? Nabiki continues, hoping the subject will loosen Ranma up. I can't believe he engaged us to a girl. Connie's thoughts rage as she slams her fist through another set of 5 cement blocks. Her gi clings to her sweaty body as she sweeps the chunks of rock. When she is through, she heads to her bath. On the way, she spies her father speaking to a mysterious man. The man kneels opposite her father, and tears are streaming down both their faces. The man is wearing an old, dirty white gi and wire-rimmed glasses. He sports an off-white bandana on his head. Avoiding the strange scene, Akane makes her way to the bath. Okay, let's see. Did we get a response? No. So, we just had a hi, uh, posting the link to their story, and then running away. So, you need to stick around if you want to be things to be read. So, let's go back. Wow, so you've been training since you could walk, Nabiki was truly amazed. But why are you showing up now? I mean, you're only what, 13, 14 years old? I'm 16. I've been on a training mission with my father and sister. And you went to China, right? It wasn't like that. What happened in China, Ranma-chan? Um, listen, Ranma-chan, if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay. We can change the subject. Thank you, Nabiki-chan. Ranma takes a quiet but friendly tone with Nabiki. Looking down at the pig in her arms, Ranma suddenly jerks to her feet. What's wrong? Nabiki queries Ranma's sudden reaction. Nabiki, may I use your bathroom? I need to take a bath after the long trek here. Sure, it's downstairs to the right. Ranma leaves. Nabiki thinks to herself, better not go with her. She might sense my true purpose. Akane upends the bucket of cold water over her head, washing away the soap and shampoo. She then steps into the blue pool filled with warm water. As she begins to relax, the bathing room door slides quickly open. Akane stares in shock as a naked Ranma, still toting the pig, walks in. Can I help you, Ranma? She asks politely, as politely as the situation would allow. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize anyone else was in here, Ranma sheepishly explains. Well, I guess I forgot to put up the sign, Akane amends. Sorry, I'll come back later, Ranma turns to leave. Wait, I'll be getting out soon anyway, so why don't you start cleaning up? And I'll leave the food for you to get in, okay? Thanks. Ranma puts the sign up on the sliding rice paper door that separates the bathing area from the anteroom. Nabiki quietly sneaks down the stairs. She makes it to the bathroom door and presses her ear to listen. She hears Ranma laughing. Good, thinks Nabiki just before Akane opens the door. Nabiki falls over on top of Akane, and after some yelps and fluttering, they both stand up. Nabiki embarrassed and Akane upset. Later that night, the Tendo girls were called to the dining room. Akane is shocked. Before her sits the man she saw earlier wearing the same white gi, Ranma with red hair, and a young boy with black hair. What did you want to talk to us about, Daddy? Kasumi asked politely. Everyone, this is Genma. Son introduces the man in the white gi. And this is my son Ranma. Genma pats the black-haired boy next to him. The Tendo household is illuminated by the bright full moon. The night sky shines like a bottle filled with fireflies, and the glowing moon's shine reflects in the virtually still pond. Ranma stares at the scrutinizing gazes of both Akane and Nabiki, while Kasumi simply asks, But isn't Ranma a girl? Well, yes and no, comes Son's enigmatic reply. His sharp features contort into a stern concentration. The path of a true warrior is a long and dangerous one. Genma decided to firmly answer the question. Ranma, my son, and Ranko, my daughter, went on a training mission to China. We came across a training ground called Jusenkyo. Start obligatory flashback number 2. Woo, 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 woo. Checking for new viewers. Checking to see if this stupid thing updates with people who followed me, but it didn't, and it's really annoying. Why are you so annoying? Let me know when people follow me and who they are. That is all I want. And it's weird because like the other person's chat message doesn't show up here either, so I'm just annoyed. Users in chat. Yeah, it's like you have to like use like 3 different tools and like none of them actually help. Um, to see like what is actually happening. Um, let's drag an activity feed out here, see what happens. And what's this? Mod actions. So let's do that. Okay, go back. Channel actions. Ready for caught messages. Feedback. Channel tools. I don't know. This whole thing is really difficult to use. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so my name is Celestial Ludenberg. It has followed us an hour ago. Cool. And then mod actions. Waifu added as a permitted term by me via automod 11 days ago. So I somehow added waifu. Okay. Followers only chat enabled with 0-minute following. Okay, 15 days. I don't know how I automatically added the word waifu, so I don't get it. Not waifu, friend. Genma, Ranma, and Ranko stand on a precipice overlooking several pools of varying sizes. All 3 are wearing dirty training outfits. Ranma's raven black hair gleams in the sunlight as he smiles down at the legendary training grounds of Jusenkyo. His sister, to his right, has a wide grin as her blazing red hair shines brightly as if burned. Their father, a large man in height and diameter, talked with a diminutive Chinese travel guide who spoke in his best Japanese. Yes, this is training ground, though no one ever use it. It is very cursed and sacred place. Many have died training here. Let's go, boy. We're up first. Genma and Ranma speed down the trail to the pools. Hey, wait for me, Pops. Ranko chases after her brother and father. Ranko, the younger of the 2 siblings, always came second, but she always admired her big brother. No, wait, you mustn't train in springs. It is very dangerous. The guide ran after the trio. Jusenkyo is a large valley populated by pools of several sizes. Some are long and skinny, others are small and circular, and yet others are large and irregularly shaped. One thing all the pools have in common is that they have bamboo canes rising several feet up from the water. It is on these bamboo canes that Ranma and Genma now sparred with each other, their feet securely holding their bodies atop the canes, their hands and bodies a blur as they attacked each other and jumped from pole to pole. Ranko waits in the sidelines, cheering for her big brother. The guide hardly catches up before Ranma sends his father into a pool. After a measure of silence, and catching his breath, the guide announces that Genma has fallen into the spring of drowned panda. What does that mean? Comes Ranko's inquiry. Before a reply can be formed, the panda jumps out of the pool that Genma had fallen in mere moments before, wearing Genma's clothes and wire-framed glasses, no less. What the is all Ranma forms before being backhanded into another pool, which the guide happily announces to be the spring of drowned girl. After resurfacing and finding evidence that the cursed spring of Jusenkyo has a reason to be called cursed, Ranma, now in a female body, chases his father down, who is now running away as best a panda can from these situations. Ranma shoots past his sister and knocks her into another pool. Soon, out comes a small pink piglet, where there once was a girl. You fall in spring of drowned pig. Very tragic tale of pig who drowned in spring 300 years ago, was all the guide said before gathering Ranko's things and taking her to his hut. And that is what happened, Genma finished the story, wiping his glasses clean. Akane, Nabiki, and Kasumi stare at the Saotomis with shock and awe in their eyes. I can't believe this, Akane denounces. Well, let me start by... Genma cuts himself off and throws Ranma into the attendant's koi pond. In splashed a 16-year-old boy named Ranma, and out came a young, buxom, black-haired teen. Soon Ranma was out of the pond and fighting his father. After they settled down, they sat down with Ranma still being female and his father, now a panda, after his own run-in with the pond. Start obligatory flashback number 3. Ranma ducked his father's haymaker swing and grabbed the outstretched arm. Rolling on his back, Ranma launched his father into the air and into the koi pond. Soon, Genma emerged as a panda. End obligatory flashback number 3. I think I'm starting to understand, states Son, as Ranko transforms her father and brother back to normal. When splashed with cold water, you transform, but hot water changes you back. Well then, this isn't so bad. You can still marry one of my daughters. Just take your pick. Begins Ranma when he is interrupted by his sister. I'll take Nabiki, Ranko is stared at for the rest of the night. Oh man, old emails included here. So it says here, this story, though not really obvious from this chapter, is a Ranma 1/2 Sailor Moon fusion. By definition, blah blah blah, themes intertwined, and yada yada yada. So the main thing that I had from this, Ranma Jin is Negaverse, and then the whole thing that was happening with the Ranma characters was I decided, since I have an extra character and everybody who is going to fall into the springs still falls into a spring, I'm going to move the enchantments down the line. So Ranma, Genma still gets panda, Ranma still gets girl, but his sister gets pig, and then Ryoga gets duck. No, Ryoga gets cat, and Shampoo gets duck. Right, so it was just going to move down the line of how they got, of the order they got it, which would change how certain things end up as. So I just thought that was going to be fun. I never did finish this story. All right, and for my name is Celestial Ludenberg. Here is the story that you posted in chat. So when you are looking at this later, you can see it. Let's see. My OC narrates the opening. Name's Genki Dama, Ultimate Fanboy Genki Dama. I got invited to Hope's Peak and Jabberwock Island. If I survive, I'm geeking out here. Wish me luck. Here I go. So you skip past the opening because this is Netflix apparently. I say to everyone, feel free to introduce yourselves to each other. I know who you all are. I point to Makoto and say, you are Ultimate Hope Makoto Neigi. Then I turn to Kyoko. You are Ultimate Detective Kyoko Kirigiri. Rinse and repeat until I get to my favorite number 5. I say to them, you 5 are Ultimate Moral Compass Kiyotaka Ishimaru, Ultimate Grappler Sakura Ogami, Ultimate Biker Gang Leader Mondo Wada, Ultimate Programmer Chihiro Fujisaki, and Ultimate Gambler Celestia Lutenberg. I whisper to Celeste, don't worry, I won't spill the beans about your secret even though I know it. Oh, I almost forgot to introduce myself. I am Ultimate Fanboy Genki Dama. I managed to convince Yasuhiro to put his life on the line to protect Sayaka from Leon. See ya in part 2. My OC, which in case you forgot was Genki, notices Mondo's angry silhouette on the boys' locker room wall. So in an attempt to save Mondo and Chihiro, I tell 2 of the guys, Byakuya! Take the dumbbell from him. Hina! Take the hit. They do so, and both Mondo and Chihiro are safe for chapter 2 duration at least. What is this? There's so much in here, yet so little. As soon as Monokuma presents the 10 million J dollar bribe, I, Genki, tell Celeste, I know that you want the $10 million, and I know that you'll plan to get it, but may I make a small tweak to your plan? Celeste replies, depends on what you wish to change. I tell her in a whispered voice, I suggest instead of clocking Yamada after he kills Ishimaru, maybe do nothing after that, but up to the trial, and then, as soon as the trial begins, allow Hifumi to take the blame for Taka's death. Celeste whispers back, devious. I like it. We try it that way, and my idea, which Celeste agreed to, managed to work Hifumi's scrapped execution into the timeline. DR1 is halfway done, so stay tuned for more fun. I don't know what I'm reading. What am I reading? What is this? Who are you? What is going on? Are all of your stories like this? Jesus Christ. Oh my god, that was so terrible. Why would you do this to me? Why? Why? Oh my god, that was bad. That I'm not happy with this at all. Ah, just terrible. Terrible. Okay. Um we're about to hit 10 o'clock. I want to thank people for hanging out. I want to thank new followers. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And sorry that my alerts thing isn't really set up and that you didn't show up on my alerts thing. Maybe you unfollowed me after I didn't immediately respond. Who knows? But hope you guys all have fun. And let's get. Hold on, where's my thing? Here. Let's get this hidden. That's this one. All right, and let's see that. Okay. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll be playing Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow. Yay! Um, please go to my YouTube channel, comment, like, subscribe. It says here on the Twitch, here and on YouTube, and support me on Patreon. Thank you so much. And so this is more for the YouTubies people. Bye, everybody.